The space station floated in the darkness between stars. It was called Harmony Point, a place where many alien races came to talk and trade. Humans had been part of the galactic community for only 30 years, and they were still considered young and weak by the older empires. Ambassador Park Ji-woo stood near the large window of the station's main hall. She watched the ships come and go, their lights blinking like fireflies in the black sea of space. Her daughter Yuna stood beside her, holding her hand tightly. Yuna was 7 years old. She had big, curious eyes and a smile that could warm any room. She loved space. She loved looking at the different aliens that walked past them. Some had 4 arms. Some had scales. Some floated instead of walking. To Yuna, it was all wonderful. "Mommy, why do the Volhari always look angry?" Yuna asked in a small voice. Ji-woo looked down at her daughter. The Volhari were the rulers of the largest empire in the galaxy. They were tall, with gray skin and sharp teeth. They believed they were better than everyone else. They had conquered hundreds of worlds and made billions of beings serve them. "They are not angry, my love," Ji-woo said softly. "They just look that way." But Ji-woo knew the truth. The Volhari were cruel. They saw other races as tools to be used. Humans were nothing to them, just another weak species that had barely learned to travel between stars. The day had been normal until the announcement came. The Volhari High Commander, a massive alien named Garth, called everyone to the central plaza. He said there would be a demonstration, a lesson for all the races about the power of the Empire. Ji-woo felt fear in her chest. She tried to leave with Yuna, but Volhari soldiers blocked all the exits. They forced everyone to watch. In the center of the plaza, Goroth stood with his soldiers. They had captured a group of rebels from a small planet. The rebels had refused to pay taxes to the Empire. Now they would be punished. "Let this be a lesson," Goroth said, his voice booming through the speakers. "The Volhari Empire does not tolerate disobedience. Those who stand against us will fall." The soldiers raised their weapons. Ji-woo covered Yuna's eyes, but she could not cover her ears. The sounds of the execution filled the plaza. Screams, then silence. Yuna was shaking. Ji-woo held her close. "It's okay, baby. It's okay. Don't look." But then something went wrong. One of the rebels was not dead. He jumped up and grabbed a soldier's weapon. He fired wildly, trying to escape. The Volhari soldiers fired back. The shots went everywhere. Ji-woo felt something hit her arm. Pain exploded through her body. She fell to the ground, still holding Yuna. When she looked down, she saw blood. But it was not her blood. Yuna lay still in her arms. A burn mark was on her small chest. Her eyes were open but empty. Her little hand still held her mother's fingers. "No," Ji-woo whispered. "No, no, 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 Yuna." She screamed. She screamed until her throat was raw. Other humans rushed to help her, but there was nothing anyone could do. Her daughter was gone. Her little girl who loved the stars was dead. Garth walked over. He looked down at Ji-woo and her dead child like they were insects. His face showed no emotion. "Unfortunate," he said simply. The human child was in the wrong place. Collateral damage. "It happens." Ji-woo looked up at him through her tears. Her whole body was shaking with grief and rage. "She was 7 years old," Ji-woo said, her voice breaking. "She was innocent." Garth shrugged his massive shoulders. "All lesser beings are expendable. Your species should learn its place. The Empire will send a small payment to your government. Consider the matter closed." He turned and walked away. Ji-woo held Yuna's body for hours. The other humans on the station gathered around her. Some cried. Some stood in shock. A human doctor came and gently took Yuna from her arms. He wrapped the small body in a white cloth. A human ship came the next day to take them home. Jiwoo walked onto the ship carrying Yuna herself. She would not let anyone else touch her daughter. The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. Jiwoo sat alone in her room for most of it. She did not eat. She barely slept. She just held her daughter's cold hand and remembered. She remembered Yuna's first words, her first steps, the way she laughed when Jiwoo tickled her, the drawings she made of spaceships and aliens, the dreams she had of exploring the galaxy. All of it was gone now, taken by beings who did not even care. When the ship arrived at Earth, there were thousands of people waiting. The news had spread. Everyone knew what had happened. The world had watched the video. They had seen the little girl fall. They had heard her mother's screams. Jiwoo walked off the ship slowly. She carried Yuna's body in her arms. Cameras pointed at her. People cried. Some fell to their knees. Behind her, the human crew of the ship carried a single message that Jiwoo had written. It was addressed to every government on Earth, every military leader, every person who had the power to act. The message was short. It had only 3 words. Remember my daughter. That night, the leaders of Earth gathered in an emergency meeting. They came from every country, every nation. Old enemies sat next to each other. Old friends held hands. They watched the video of Yuna's death together. When it ended, there was silence. Then the president of the United Earth Council stood up. His name was Admiral Do-yeon. He was an old soldier who had seen many battles. But even he had tears in his eyes. 30 years ago, we joined the galaxy, he said quietly. We were told to be peaceful, to be patient, to accept our place. We listened. We followed the rules. We let them look down on us. He paused and looked at the image of Yuna on the screen. They killed a child. Our child. And they called her collateral damage. His voice grew harder, colder. I say no more. I say we show them who we really are. I say we make them remember Yuna's name for 1,000 years. The room was silent for a long moment. Then, one by one, every leader in the room stood up. They did not argue. They did not debate. For the first time in human history, every nation on Earth agreed on something. War. The Valhari Empire had made a terrible mistake. They had thought humans were weak. They had thought killing one child would mean nothing. They were wrong. The human fleet moved like a storm across the stars. Gorath's small patrol force was destroyed in minutes. His flagship was torn apart by weapons that burned hotter than suns. His last message to the Empire was a scream of terror. Then there was silence. Admiral Do-yeon stood on the bridge of the command ship Unity. Around him, officers worked with calm focus. Screens showed the positions of every human ship. Thousands of vessels, all moving together like one giant machine. First target destroyed, an officer reported. No human casualties. Moving to second target. General Hannah appeared on a screen beside Do-yeon. She was commanding the ground forces from a different ship. The Valhari outpost on Korra 3 is ahead, she said. Our scouts report heavy defenses. They know we are coming. Dawn nodded. Good. I want them to know. I want them to feel fear before they die. The fleet moved toward Korra 3. It was a military base on a rocky moon. The Valhari had placed it there to watch human space. Now, it would be the first to fall. The Valhari commander at Korra 3 was named Theron. He was not as cruel as Garth, but he was loyal to the Empire. When he saw the human fleet approaching, he could not believe his eyes. This is impossible, he said to his officers. Where did they get so many ships? Our intelligence said they only had a few hundred vessels. Sir, what do we do? An officer asked. Theron straightened his back. We fight. We are Valhari. We do not run from lesser races. He sent a message to the approaching humans. Human fleet, you are entering Velhari space. Turn back now or be destroyed. The Empire will crush you like the insects you are. The reply came quickly. It was from a young commander named Tayan. His face was hard, and his eyes showed no mercy. You call us insects. You call us lesser. But insects can swarm. Insects can sting. And sometimes, insects can bring down giants. The attack began. Human fighters poured from the carrier ships like angry bees. They were faster than anything the Velhari had seen. They moved in patterns that were impossible to predict. The Velhari guns could not hit them. Then came the big ships. The human battleships opened fire with weapons that glowed blue and white. The shots punched through Velhari shields like they were made of paper. Explosions lit up the darkness of space. Theron watched in horror as his defenses fell apart. Ship after ship was destroyed. His soldiers fought bravely, but it was not enough. The humans were too fast, too strong, too angry. Send a message to the Emperor. Theron shouted. Tell him what is happening. Tell him the humans are not weak. Tell him. His words were cut off as a human missile hit his command center. Theron died without finishing his sentence. Korra 3 fell in 3 hours. The human fleet barely slowed down. News of the attack spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Other alien races watched in shock. The Velhari, the mighty rulers of 1,000 worlds, were losing to humans. The species everyone had called weak and primitive. The Galactic News Network broadcast footage of the battle. Commentators who had once laughed at humanity now spoke with fear in their voices. This is unlike anything we have seen, one reporter said. The human weapons appear to be decades ahead of what we believed they had. Their tactics are brilliant and brutal. The Velhari are being pushed back on every front. In the palace of the Velhari Emperor, there was panic. Officers ran through the halls with reports of more defeats. 3 outposts had fallen in a single day. A Velhari fleet sent to stop the humans had been destroyed completely. The Emperor, an ancient Velhari named Vorath, sat on his throne in silence. He had ruled for 200 years. He had crushed a dozen rebellions. He had never known defeat. Now he was afraid. How is this possible? He asked his advisors. How did we not know about their true strength? An intelligence officer stepped forward nervously. Great Emperor, the humans are masters of deception. They showed us only what they wanted us to see. Their true fleet was hidden. Their true weapons were secret. We made a mistake. A mistake? Vorath's voice was cold with rage. A mistake? You call this a mistake? They are burning our worlds. He stood up from his throne. Send every ship we have, every soldier, every weapon. Stop them now. But it was too late for that. The human fleet had already split into multiple groups. They attacked from every direction at once. Velhari commanders could not keep up. By the time they defended one system, the humans had already taken 2 more. Commander Tayan led the main attack force. He was young, only 32 years old. But he fought like a demon. His ship, the Vengeance, was always at the front of every battle. Before each fight, he would broadcast a message to the Velhari forces. 73 days ago, you killed a 7-year-old girl. Her name was Park Yuna. She liked to look at the stars. She dreamed of exploring the galaxy. You shot her and called her nothing. Now we have come to make you pay. Surrender, and you will live. Fight, and you will burn. Most Velhari chose to fight. They were proud. They believed they could win. They were wrong. System after system fell to the human advance. Military bases were destroyed. Supply lines were cut. The great Velhari war machine began to break down. Other alien races started to move. The ones who had been conquered by the Velhari saw their chance. Rebellions broke out on dozens of worlds. Slaves rose up against their masters. Old enemies of the Empire attacked border regions. The Velhari were suddenly fighting on many fronts. They did not have enough ships. They did not have enough soldiers. The empire that had seemed unbeatable was crumbling. Ambassador Jiwoo watched the war from Earth. She had refused to stay behind. She worked in the command center, helping to coordinate the attacks. She did not smile. She did not celebrate the victories. She just worked hour after hour, making sure the war continued. One night, General Hannah found her standing alone, looking at a picture of Yuna. "We are winning," Hannah said gently. "The empire is falling. Your daughter will be avenged." Jiwoo was quiet for a long moment. Revenge will not bring her back. Nothing will bring her back. But I can make sure no other mother feels what I feel. I can make sure they never hurt another child. She put the picture away and turned back to her work. "How long until we reach their homeworld?" she asked. "At this rate, 3 more months. Maybe less." Jiwoo nodded. "Then we keep fighting. We do not stop until it is over. We do not stop until they understand." Across the galaxy, the war continued. Human ships flew through space with one name painted on every hull. One name that the Velhari were learning to fear. Yuna. The little girl who loved the stars was leading an army. She was dead, but her memory was alive in every human heart. Every soldier fought for her. Every victory was in her name. The Velhari had thought killing one child would mean nothing. They had never been more wrong. The days after Yuna's funeral were quiet. Too quiet. Every human ship in the galaxy began to return home. Trade vessels left alien ports without finishing their business. Research stations closed down. Diplomats packed their bags and said goodbye. The Velhari watched this happen with amusement. "The humans are running away," Commander Gorath laughed during a meeting with other Velhari officers. "Like scared animals. They know their place now. One dead child, and they retreat like cowards." The other officers laughed with him. They raised their drinks and celebrated their victory over the weak human race. But they did not understand what was really happening. On Earth, something was changing. Something that had never happened before in human history. The old borders between nations were disappearing. The old fights were being forgotten. Every country, every government, every military was coming together. General Hannah stood in the underground command center beneath the mountains of Korea. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and gray hair. She had served in the military for 40 years. She had seen wars between nations. She had lost friends and family to human conflicts. But now, all of that was over. The world had one enemy, one target, one purpose. "Status report," she said to her staff. A young officer stepped forward. "General, the European fleet has completed its merger with the American fleet. The Asian coalition has finished upgrading all warships. The African Union has sent their elite soldiers to the training camps. Everyone is ready." Hannah nodded. "What about the secret projects?" The officer smiled slightly. "Project Hammer is ahead of schedule. The orbital platforms will be ready in 2 months. Project Thunder has completed testing. The new weapons work better than expected. For decades, humanity had been building in secret. They had hidden their true power from the galaxy. The Velhari thought human ships were slow and weak. They thought human weapons were primitive. They thought humans had no military strength. They were very, very wrong. Earth had learned an important lesson when they first met alien life. The galaxy was dangerous. The strong survived and the weak died. So humanity had pretended to be weak while secretly becoming strong. Every nation had contributed. They built ships in hidden shipyards on the dark side of the moon. They developed weapons in deep underground laboratories. They trained soldiers in bases that did not officially exist. All of this was done in silence, in shadow, waiting for the day when humanity would need to defend itself. That day had come. Admiral Do-hyun arrived at the command center that evening. He walked slowly, his old bones tired from the long journey, but his eyes were bright with purpose. Behind him came Ambassador Ji-woo. She looked different now. The grief was still there, but something else had joined it. Something cold and hard. She had not smiled since her daughter died. She barely spoke. But when she did speak, everyone listened. "How long until we are ready?" Do-hyun asked. 2 months for full combat readiness, Hana replied. "But we could launch a limited attack sooner if needed." Do-hyun shook his head. "No, we do this right. We do not want to hurt them. We want to destroy them." Ji-woo stepped forward. "What about the other alien races? Will they help the Velhari?" "Our intelligence says no," Hana answered. "The Velhari have many enemies. Most races hate them but are too afraid to fight. If we strike hard enough, they will not interfere. Some might even help us." Do-hyun sat down heavily in a chair. He looked at the map of the galaxy on the large screen. So many stars. So many worlds. The Velhari Empire controlled a quarter of them. "We are about to start the biggest war in human history," he said quietly. "Many of us will die. Many families will lose loved ones. Are we sure this is what we want?" The room was silent. Then Ji-woo spoke. "They killed my daughter and called her nothing. They killed her and laughed. If we do nothing, they will kill more children. They will kill until there are no humans left. This is not about revenge, Admiral. This is about survival." Do-hyun looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Send the final orders. All forces prepare for war." Across Earth, the message spread. In every country, men and women put on their uniforms. Ships that had been hidden for years powered up their engines. Weapons that had never been tested in real combat were loaded and ready. The people of Earth knew what was coming. They were afraid, but they were also angry. Every family had watched the video of Yuna's death. Every parent had imagined their own child in her place. Every person had felt the cold dismissal of the Velhari commander. In the cities, factories worked day and night. Workers who had made cars now made bullets. Scientists who had studied medicine now studied how to kill Velhari. Artists who had painted beautiful pictures now painted messages of war on the sides of ships. One message appeared everywhere. On walls, on ships, on uniforms. 3 simple words. Remember Yuna's name. Meanwhile, the Velhari Empire continued to laugh at humanity's retreat. They sent mocking messages to other races. They told stories about the cowardly humans who ran away after one small accident. Gorath, the commander who had dismissed Yuna's death, was promoted. He became a hero in the Empire. He gave speeches about how easy it was to control lesser races. He used humans as an example of weakness. "They are like small insects," he told cheering crowds. "They make noise, but they cannot fight. One step, and they are crushed." The Velhari Emperor himself praised Gorath. He gave him command of a large fleet. He told him to patrol the edge of human space and make sure they stayed scared. Gorath was happy to do it. He took his fleet to the border and waited. He expected to see nothing but empty space where human ships used to be. 2 months passed. Earth was quiet. Human space was empty. No ships came out. No messages were sent. It was like humanity had disappeared. Gorath began to get bored. He sent reports back to the Emperor, saying that humans were too afraid to even show their faces. He recommended reducing the border patrol since there was no threat. The Emperor agreed. Most of Gorath's fleet was sent to other parts of the Empire. Only a small group of ships remained. Gorath relaxed. He thought his work was done. He thought humans would stay hidden forever, too scared to ever challenge the mighty Velhari Empire. He was wrong. On the 73rd day after Yuna's death, a single human ship appeared at the border. It was small, barely bigger than a shuttle. It stopped in front of Goreth's remaining fleet and sent a message. Goreth opened the message, expecting begging or apologies. Instead, he saw the face of Admiral Doyun. "Commander Goreth," Doyun said calmly, 73 days ago, you killed a human child named Park Yuna. You called her collateral damage. You offered money as if her life had a price." Doyun paused. His eyes were ice cold. "We are here to teach you that every human life is priceless. We are here to make you remember her name. We are here to show you what happens when you hurt our children." Goreth laughed. "One small ship? Is this a joke? I will destroy you in seconds." Doyun smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "I am not alone." Behind the small ship, space began to glow. Lights appeared. Hundreds of them. Then thousands. Ships of every size emerged from hidden positions. Warships with weapons the galaxy had never seen. Carriers filled with fighters. Massive battleships that dwarfed anything the Velhari had. Goreth's face went pale. His hands shook. That's impossible," he whispered. Doyun's voice was the last thing he heard. "Humanity has come for you. May your gods have mercy, because we will not." The first shots were fired. The war had begun. 1 year had passed since the war ended. The galaxy was still healing from the great conflict. Billions had died. Worlds had been burned. The Velhari Empire, once the mightiest power in the known universe, was now broken into small pieces. But today was not a day for sadness. Today was a day to remember that Ambassador Jiwoo stood on a platform in the center of Harmony Point, the same space station where her daughter had died. The station had been rebuilt. The plaza where the execution happened was now a garden, filled with flowers from 100 different worlds. And in the center of the garden stood a statue. It was made of white crystal that glowed softly in the light of the stars. It showed a little girl looking up at the sky with wonder in her eyes. She was reaching toward the stars with one small hand. Her other hand held a flower. The statue was 30 meters tall. It could be seen from every part of the station, from every ship that passed by, from every corner of the galaxy that had a view of this place. At the base of the statue, words were carved in every known language. Park Yuna, age 7. She loved the stars. The galaxy will remember. Representatives from every alien race had come for the ceremony. Even the remaining Velhari leaders were there, standing quietly at the back. They had been forced to attend as part of the peace agreement. Admiral Doan stood beside Jiwoo. He was older now, his hair completely gray. The war had taken everything from him, but he had given humanity its greatest victory. "It is time," he said gently. Jiwoo nodded and stepped forward to the microphone. The entire galaxy was watching. Billions of beings on thousands of worlds were listening. 1 year ago, she began, her voice steady, my daughter stood in this very place. She held my hand and asked me why the stars were so beautiful. I told her that each star was a sun, and around each sun were worlds filled with life. She smiled and said she wanted to meet everyone in the galaxy. Jiwoo paused, looking at the statue of her daughter. She never got that chance. She died because an empire believed that some lives matter more than others. She died because powerful beings thought they could do whatever they wanted to the weak. She turned to face the crowd. But her death taught the galaxy something important. It taught them that humans do not forget. We do not forgive those who hurt our children. We do not let injustice go unanswered. Every human who fought in this war carried Yuna's name in their heart. Every victory was for her. Every sacrifice was to make sure no other child would die the way she did. General Hannah stepped forward and stood beside Jiwoo. Commander Taeyeon joined them. Behind them, soldiers from every nation on Earth formed perfect lines. Today, we do not celebrate victory, Hannah said. We do not celebrate the fall of an empire. We remember a little girl who loved the stars. We promise that her death was not meaningless. We build a future where all children can look at the sky without fear. Taeyeon raised his voice. Let it be known across the galaxy. Humanity will protect its children. We will protect all children. Any empire, any government, any being that hurts the innocent will face the same fate as the Volhari. This is our promise. This is our warning. The Volhari representatives lowered their heads in shame. They had learned their lesson in blood and fire. They would never forget that other alien races looked at the humans with new eyes. These beings they had once mocked were now the most feared warriors in the galaxy. But they were also the most compassionate. In the months after the war, humans had helped rebuild the worlds they destroyed. They had fed the hungry and healed the wounded. They had shown mercy to their enemies. This was what made humanity dangerous. Not just their weapons or their ships or their tactics. It was their hearts. They could love with the same power that they could hate. They could build with the same energy that they could destroy. Jiwoo walked to the base of the statue. She placed a single white flower at her daughter's feet. It was the same kind of flower Yuna had been holding when she died. My sweet girl, Jiwoo whispered. You wanted to see the stars. Now the stars can see you. They will remember your name forever. She stood there for a long moment, alone with her grief. Then she felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned and saw Do-hyun standing beside her. She would be proud of you, he said quietly. What you have done. What you have built. She would be proud. Jiwoo finally allowed herself to smile. It was small and sad, but it was real. She would be upset that I started the war, she said. She was always telling me to be nice to everyone. Do-hyun nodded. And now, because of the war, we can be nice. We can help rebuild. We can make sure peace lasts. The ceremony continued late into the night. Speeches were made. Songs were sung. Stories were told about Yuna, about the war, about the future. Children from Earth and from alien worlds placed flowers at the base of the statue until it was surrounded by a sea of colors. As the crowd finally began to leave, a young Velhari child approached Jiwoo. She was small, maybe the same age Yuna had been. Her parents tried to pull her back, but she broke free and ran to the human woman. I am sorry, the child said in broken human language. I am sorry about your daughter. She looks nice in the statue. Jiwoo kneeled down to look at the child. For a moment, she saw Yuna in those alien eyes. A child who was innocent, who did not understand war or hate, who just wanted to say kind words. Thank you, Jiwoo said softly. What is your name? The child answered. Viola, that is a pretty name. Jiwoo took a flower from the pile and handed it to the child. Take this. Remember Yuna. Grow up to be kind. That is all she would have wanted. Viola took the flower carefully. Her parents finally reached her, their faces filled with fear. But Jiwoo just smiled at them. Your child is brave, she said. Teach her well. Teach her that all life is precious. Teach her that the universe is big enough for everyone. The Velhari parents bowed deeply and led their daughter away. But Viola kept looking back, clutching the flower to her chest. Later that night, Jiwoo stood alone on the observation deck. She looked out at the stars her daughter had loved so much. Behind her, she could hear the sounds of celebration. People laughing, children playing, music drifting through the station. We did it, Yuna, she said to the stars. We made them listen. We made them care. The galaxy will remember you. Somewhere out in the darkness, a shooting star crossed the sky. Jiwoo liked to think it was her daughter, finally getting to explore the universe she had dreamed about. The war was over. The Empire had fallen. A new era had begun, and at the center of it all was the memory of a little girl who loved the stars. A little girl whose death had changed everything. A little girl named Yuna. The galaxy would never forget her name. The Velhari homeworld was called Velhar Prime. It was a massive planet with gray skies and tall black towers. For 1,000 years, it had been the center of the greatest empire in the galaxy. No enemy had ever come close to it until now. Commander Taeyan looked at the planet through the window of his ship. Behind him, the entire human fleet had gathered. Thousands of warships floating in the darkness like stars come to life. All ships report ready, an officer said. We are in position. Taeyan nodded. Contact Admiral Do-Yun. Tell him we are prepared to begin the final assault. The face of Admiral Do-Yun appeared on the screen. He looked tired. The war had lasted 4 months now. Many good people had died, but they had won every battle. They had pushed the Velhari back to their home. Commander, Do-Yun said, this is it. The moment we have been fighting for. Are your people ready? Yes, sir. We are ready to finish this. Good. But before we attack, there is something you should know. The Velhari Emperor has sent a message. He wants to negotiate. Taeyan felt anger rise in his chest. Negotiate? After everything they did? I know how you feel. But we must at least hear what he says. General Hannah and Ambassador Jiwoo are already on their way to the meeting point. The meeting took place on a small moon between the two fleets. A human shuttle landed beside a Velhari ship. Emperor Vorath himself stepped out, surrounded by guards. He was old and tall, with gray skin marked by age. General Hannah and Ambassador Jiwoo walked out to meet him. They wore simple uniforms with Yuna's name written over their hearts. Vorath looked at them with eyes that had once held pride. Now they held only fear. I am here to offer peace, he said. This war has cost us both too much. Let us end it before more die. Hannah crossed her arms. You want peace? 4 months ago, you laughed at us. You called us insects. You said our children were worthless. That was a mistake, Vorath said quickly. Commander Gorath acted without my permission. I did not approve of what he did. The child's death was a tragedy. Jiwoo stepped forward. Her face was like stone. Her eyes burned with cold fire. Her name was Yuna, she said. Say her name. Vorath hesitated. The child, Yuna. Her death was wrong. I admit this. But this war has killed millions. On both sides. How many more must die for one child? You do not understand, Jiwoo said quietly. This was never about numbers. Never about how many. It is about what you showed us. You showed us that to the Velhari, human life means nothing. That you can kill our children and offer money like buying broken furniture. She stepped closer to the Emperor. His guards raised their weapons, but he waved them down. We could have accepted an apology, Jiwoo continued. We could have accepted justice for Gorath. But you promoted him. You celebrated him. You made him a hero for killing my daughter. So now we will take everything from you. Not because we want your worlds. Not because we want your power. But because you must learn that every human life is sacred. Vorath's face went pale. What do you want? Name your terms. We will give you planets, resources, whatever you ask. Admiral Do-Yun's voice came through the communicator. He had been listening to everything. We do not want your planets, Emperor. We do not want your resources. We want you to kneel. We want you to bow before a human mother whose child you killed. We want you to say her name and beg for forgiveness. And we want the galaxy to see it." Vorath's mouth fell open. "You want me to bow? To a human? I am the emperor of 1,000 worlds." "You were," Do-Yoon said coldly. "Now you are the ruler of a dying empire. You have 1 hour to decide. Kneel and your people live. Refuse and we will destroy everything you have ever built." The meeting ended. Vorath returned to his ship. 1 hour passed. He did not respond. Do-Yoon gave the order. The attack on Velar Prime was the largest battle in galactic history. Human ships poured fire onto the Velhari defenses. Orbital stations were destroyed. Defensive satellites were swept away. The mighty shields that protected the planet began to fail. Taiyan led the assault on the main military base. His ship flew through enemy fire like it was nothing. Fighters surrounded him, clearing a path through the chaos. "All units, target the central command," he ordered. "Take out their leadership. This ends now." The battle raged for 6 hours. The Velhari fought hard. They were defending their home, their families, their entire way of life. But the humans fought harder. They had 4 months of anger built up. They had the memory of a little girl driving them forward. Finally, the Velhari defenses collapsed. Their fleet was destroyed. Their bases were burning. Their soldiers were surrendering by the thousands. Taehyung landed his ship on the surface of Velhar Prime. He walked out into the gray air, surrounded by his soldiers. Ahead of them stood the Imperial Palace, tall and dark against the smoky sky. The doors of the palace opened. Emperor Vorath walked out. He was alone. His guards had abandoned him. His advisors had fled. He had nothing left. He walked toward Taeyan and stopped. For a long moment, the two of them just looked at each other. The young human commander and the ancient alien emperor. "We refuse to kneel to lesser beings," Vorath said weakly. "It is against everything we believe." Taeyan shook his head. "Your beliefs killed a child. Your beliefs started a war. Your beliefs have brought you here, to this moment, where your empire is dust and your people are begging for mercy." He stepped aside. Behind him, a shuttle landed. The doors opened and Ambassador Jiwoo walked out. She looked at Vorath. He looked at her. The mother of the child his empire had killed. The woman who had lost everything. "I will not kneel," Vorath said, but his voice was shaking. "Then your people will burn," Jiwoo said calmly. "Every city, every town, every family. Because you are too proud to admit that my daughter mattered." Vorath looked at the sky. He could see human ships circling overhead. He could see the fires burning across his world. He could hear the distant screams of his people. His legs began to shake. Slowly, painfully, the Emperor of 1,000 worlds fell to his knees before a human mother. "I am sorry," he whispered. "I am sorry for your daughter. I am sorry for Yuna." Jiwoo looked down at him. Tears were forming in her eyes, but they did not fall. "Sorry is not enough," she said. "But it is a start." She turned to Taeyan. "Tell Admiral Do-Yoon the war is over. Tell him we won." Behind her, cameras broadcast the image across the galaxy. Every alien race saw the mighty Velhari Emperor on his knees before a human woman. They heard him say the name of a 7-year-old girl. The galaxy would never forget this moment, and they would never underestimate humanity again.